I'm not a fan of slice of life, or the genre of whatever that involves characters going through their daily lives doing whatever. Full House, That House, stuff like that. Of course, there are outliers like SpongeBob and Friends, but I'm not really a fan of those type of shows, even if they fall under it, because that's more of an anime thing. So I decided to watch Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, and well, this video is being made. Saw the title, saw the thumbnail, you clicked on this fucking probably very long video. This is what's good, hell even great, about Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. Alright, so now the plot. This is around 27 episodes, if we're including both series specials, which we are. First episode, the strongest maid in history, Toru. Well, she is a dragon, in parentheses. It sounds like one of those ironic memes you see on everywhere. So, episode 1 is the introduction of the main character, I will say, Miss Kobayashi, and she wakes up to find giant-ass dragon ends up being Toru. And Toru talks about how she's saved by Kobayashi, you know, stuff like that, and it's, you know, Toru turning into a maid, getting used to the life of being a maid, and we get introduced to Makoto Takia and his little shenanigans with Miss Kobayashi, and we see it's their first time. To us, is their first time drinking, and actually we see Kobayashi's first outburst with maids, and the first time we see Toru getting her clothes ripped up by Kobayashi. And then they keep arguing about maids and butlers and lolitas and shit. And then at the end, Toru clears the skies with her dragon fire breath thing because it was about to rain. And then somebody sees it. We'll see next episode. Episode 2, Second Dragon, Kana. We're totally spoiling here. We get introduced to Kana, who was the dragon who saw her. Kana was very worried about Toru, you know, if she died or not, because something happened. I don't know what it is. And Kobayashi brings up, like, hey, how come you didn't tell your friends you were gone, dumbass? Kana doesn't trust humans, and at the end of that scene, Kobayashi actually does take in Kana, and it's a nice moment, you know? She's just a little kid, man. So Toru and Kana play outside in a random field somewhere outside of Japan, and they destroy it, from what I remember. They finish playing, and they all lay on the field and play Shiritori, in which Toru loses. Toru helps Kana blend with society, kind of, because this is an episode after Toru turns into a maid, in which she knows as much as the ant I just crushed. And then at the end they sit, and Toru tells Kana that she's happy with being in the modern world with Kobayashi because she loves her. Kana and Toru go invisible and see Kobayashi at her window. The end. Episode 3, Start of a New Life. That doesn't go well, of course. The three get a new apartment because it's very cramped, and they clean their own apartment, so they get out of there. Toru finds Miss Kobayashi's old maid outfit, and Kobayashi actually let her try her old maid outfit. Which is cool. Toru helps watch Kobayashi, in which they kind of have a conversation about human forms, and Toru doesn't really care that she has a human form, because she cares about Kobayashi. Miss Kobayashi helps Toru the next day wash, which she gives like a little car wash. Kobayashi, next day, has a hangover, and her head gets frickin' hit across the head by three different noises. Toru talks to three said neighbors. She talks to the first one, Miss Sasakibe, in which she makes weird noises, or some machine makes weird noises while she's cooking. Yeah. Then she goes to Mr. Yana, in which he's death metaling. He is what people think a Slipknot fan is, which may be an actual Slipknot fan. Then she goes to Mr. Sone, who does wood carving, with how loud he's fucking. And then Toru finds them arguing, I don't know, porch, but where, you know, you go into your house, the little, not hallway, but, you know. and she almost kills them while they are arguing, but Miss Kobayashi chimes in and helps them compromise. Then, at the end of the day, Miss Kobayashi and Toru, while Kana is sleeping, Miss Kobayashi does end up sleeping, and Toru asks her if she's loud. Miss Kobayashi says, "Sometimes you are," and she said that this life is acceptable, and then they fall asleep. Next day, they arrange to get together with Takia, and Toru invites her friends over. The first one that comes is Fafnir, and he scares the color off Miss Kobayashi and Takia with his little fucking ogre demon thing. Then the Quetzalcoatl comes over and scares Kobayashi with her measurements, which she does say, "Hey, you can call me Luko, I don't care." And then Miss Kobayashi looks her up and down, up and down. It's just a funny scene. And she doesn't really get what she's trying to do. Then Fafnir plays Dark Souls, make Pyrocynical be proud. Then Kobayashi and Lukoa have a conversation about how Toru has never been this happy, she hasn't been this happy in a long time, and Miss Kobayashi hasn't been this happy in a long time either. So that was a nice conversation. And then they have a drink, except Lukoa can't, because Lukoa drank cursed liquor and did something with her sister, which Lukoa immediately stopped her. She's like, "No, no, 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 no." And then Miss Kobayashi and Takia get drunk and talk butlers. And then she yells at Toru and tells her to strip once again, in which Takia was like, "Oh, buddy, you do not want to see that," to Fafnir. Yeah, that was the end of episode 3. Yeah, that was a long... There's so much stuff happening in that episode. Some of the episodes are gonna be like that, where a lot of shit happens, and I'm gonna have to find the very important parts of the parts I want to highlight. That's what it will be, okay? So, fuck you. So episode 4, Kana goes to school. Not that she needs to, because she's a fucking dragon. But Kana decides she wants to go to school, so the trio go get some supplies and stuff for the school. Shenanigans arise, of course. They go to the mall, they get backpacks. Kana wants to get this little bunny rabbit backpack thing you hook on it, but she immediately puts it back after Kobayashi was like, "Whoa!" So the price, see, that was pretty expensive to what she has, which Kobayashi notices. Then they go to a school designated store, which the school, tells them like, "Hey, right there." And then Kana gets some stuff, and then Miss Kobayashi kind of has a conversation how humanity is scared of being different from each other, and how conformity is kind of like the best thing for people. Then after that, Kana puts on her backpack and loves it. Toru puts it on, she immediately gets blown up. Kana sleeps with it on, kind of. Then Kana goes to school and plays some dodgeball. We get introduced to Riko Saikawa, easily the worst character in this show. I'll get to that later. But she challenges Kana to an arm wrestling match in which Kana cries, which was fake. She must have taken a page out of YouTubers' books when they do their apologies. But real tears came out. Take that, Amber Heard. Then Kana and Toru walks home and talk about being with humans and how Kana chose to go to school because she likes being with humans. She thinks they're fun. Then everybody eats dinner. And I mean everybody, I mean the three women. Well, 2 women and 1 child. And then Miss Kobayashi gives her the bunny she tried to buy at the store. She's like, "Congratulations, you got into school." And then later, well, kind of just after that, we get like a flash forward of something that happened on the playground. And you get questions. What the fuck happened? Why is it in disarray? What the hell happened to the dragons? What are we gonna see? But before that happens, Lukoa and Fafnir checks on Toru. Well, more of Lukoa, Fafnir's grinding on Dark Souls 3. And then Kana comes home with Saikawa crying because she challenged some kids who are like twice the size of them to a dodgeball match. Before they did that, they walked, into the park where the boys were playing dodgeball, and then the worst gag happens. The worst dragon-made gag happens, where Kana does something, and then Saikawa gets like very flustered and is like, too. It's a stupid thing. It's fucking stupid because of how overused it is. It does say a lot about her character because she gets really flustered about some with girls, but it doesn't have to be once every episode, at least twice every. It doesn't have to be at least twice every episode she's in, and this goes for the entire series. Not just a couple episodes here and there. The entire series she does this shit. Oh yeah, she almost gets hit by a dodgeball, and Saikawa challenges the boys to dodgeball tomorrow. So that happened. So Toru, Fafnir, and Lukoa help. Of course, Kana helps. They wipe out the entire team. Fafnir probably knocked all of them out with his Conqueror's Hockey. Toru was like, ha, and then Lukoa accidentally seduces all of them, and then they die. Then after that, Toru, Kana, Lukoa, and Fafnir play dodgeball, and then ends with what happened at the flash forward, so everything's good. Then Lukoa offers to fix the playground and tweaks the people's minds who may have saw. And then the episode ends with Kana getting some things from the people at school, and she goes, "That's wicked." And then it ends with the teacher. It ends with the teacher getting horrified by everybody going, "That's wicked." Everyone was saying, "That's wicked." Episode 5, yeah, that one was a long one. Toru's real-world lessons. She thinks she understands it already. Toru makes breakfast, and she doesn't get chastised by Kobayashi the morning, so that's nice. Kobayashi is at work and talks about Toru being there for 2 months, and she starts to think about stuff. And then Toru watches TV and writes things down and ends up breaking the table because she is in love with Kobayashi. That bitch. But she does decide to go to the office and see her working. And she sees some other people working too. Then she sees like her Kobayashi's supervisor. I don't know if her supervisor being an asshole. He's like, "Kobayashi, see my shit, ya fucktard?" And Toru trips the dude at least 4 or 5 times. And Kobayashi leaves work and talks to Toru. He's like, "Are you here, Toru?" She reappears like, "What?" She didn't know, but she guessed right. And then she walks home with Toru and starts to think about how was she before Toru came. And then, yeah, this shit becomes philosophical sometimes. So, next part of the episode, Toru goes shopping and sees Fafnir, so she invites the motherfucker over. So Toru asks where he lives, Fafnir lives in the mountain, and then the very next day, News finds out that there's a monster in a mountain, and they see it's about 20 meters tall. So they get his ass back in, and tells him that he needs to get registered. So, as they go out there, Fafnir talks to Toru about how humans, they fucking die, man. You know, she'll die one day, and what the hell are you gonna do? And Toru says she doesn't care, that she wants to treasure the moments she has with Kobayashi before she dies. So she goes to Takia and see if he will let Fafnir live with her. So they play Dark Souls and probably Pokemon and probably Mario Kart. So at the very last part of the episode, Kana and Toru see a magic trick happen with a spoon. I don't know how to do it, so look at this. That's cool, ain't it? So they try the magic trick and immediately fail and just bend all the spoons. So they go on like a 5-10 minute training arc in which they still fail at it. But Kobayashi shows her and is like, "Here you go. Try focusing on the things you're good at, Toru. Because when you're good at them, you're good at them." So what does Toru do? She sits down, watches TV, and teleports into a magic show. And then the episode ends with the shitty gag. Alright, episode 6. Home visit, and homes not visited. So Saikawa offers Kana to go to her house, and she's like, "Sure, I'll bring everybody over." So they go to the house and meet Georgie, Saikawa's sister, who's maid nerd to the point where she became a maid for her house. And Georgie's not even her real name. It's actually Rei, R-A-E. So Kobayashi, Toru, and Georgie go into Georgie's room and talk about maids. Then Saikawa and Kana go and play their games. Then we see a scene that will go in the "shit I wish I never saw" jar. And then they leave. The next part of the episode, Lukoa comes in, and then they go to Shota's house, to help her with a misunderstanding. It does not help. Lukoa digs her grave a lot, actually. The last part of the episode, Fafnir and Takia bond more, and near the end, he talks about how there's hits and misses when it comes to humans. And you get a lot of misses, but when you find a hit, it's great. It's good. So at the end, Fafnir lets Takia call him Faf or Faf-kun, And that's the end of the episode. So far, pretty good series. Episode 7. Summer Staple. The fan service episode, frankly. And it is a fan service episode. The first part, they go to the beach. Which I get 1 on my fan service episode bingo card. So Summer Shenanigans arrives. Lukoa gets kicked out for having a skimpy swimsuit in which she changes with her scales. Kana eats crabs. Self-explanatory. Kobayashi and Shota doesn't like the beach that much. Literally me. Kobayashi talks about her family to Toru, and and Toru thinks about her own. Oh yeah, then Toru takes Shota and Kobayashi to somewhere in the ocean where they start fishing. And then they talk about their families, how, Kobayashi should probably visit hers one day. And Toru talks about, you probably shouldn't visit my parents, they'll probably kill you. Which was a good moment in the episode. That's nice. And then, fireworks. Huh? And then they go to a Comiquette to help Takia. It is hot. They planned it on probably one of the hottest fucking days of the goddamn series. And at home, Kana researches bugs, and she literally put Crunchy for one of the bugs. So she's eating them, not really researching them. So they find Fafnir with his color gone because of how disappointed he is with how he has no sales. And then real guys from the other world come in, and it's actually full of them from the other world because people will just, say like they're cosplayers. And then they run away because Toru's a dragon. And then Kobayashi lets Toru's have her wings and tail out, in which everybody was like, hey, can I take a picture with you? And then other guys come and take a picture. It's like, whoa. And then a guy from earlier in the Comiquette part of the episode, he's like, hey, can I take your picture? So the comic market ends, everybody goes home. Before that, everybody starts clapping, and then they go home. Then our research for Kana comes up. It's like, hey, and Kobayashi's like, hey, research things that you don't really understand. So Kana researches Kobayashi. So episode 8, New Dragon Elma, she's finally appearing. Huh? A field trip is coming up. So Kobayashi and Toru have a little lunch competition. Toru loses because she brought something from the other world. And then Elma comes in from the portal that Toru didn't really do a good job closing. She even closed it at all. So she comes crashing in Kobayashi's home. She challenged Toru from a fight, and she immediately gets hungry. Her stomach grumbles, so Elma still plays it cool. Well, not really. Elma is like, hey, human, shut the fuck up. I gotta fight this bitch. So Toru's like, alright, we'll fight. Then Elma goes to where the fight was supposed to be hosted, and then she gets left there. So she comes back, and she's still hungry. Then she eats something, and then Toru bribes her to get the fuck out of here. So, next day, Elma works with Kobayashi now. Which, I don't know if it ever was told us if it was a coincidence or just fake JoJo moment. So Elma's like, hey, I'm a dragon. I can do this shit. And then Kobayashi has to teach her how to work on a computer. Then Kobayashi comes home, Toru smells her, thinks she's cheating on her with Elma. So she tries really hard to where she just reverts to what she was in episode 1. Even Kobayashi brings that up. She asks her what's wrong. So then Elma comes over, gives Kobayashi a little pendant. For some reason, her cleavage is out. I have no idea what's going on. And then Toru T-rockets her ass into the playground. Then Toru and Kobayashi, they talk, and then they make up, which is nice. And then it ends with a Shota gag, where he's getting smothered. Episode 9, Sports Festival. There's no twist or anything. Sports Festival is happening, but Miss Kobayashi has to work. So Kana really wants her to go. She'll be alright with Toru coming, but she really wants Kobayashi to come with her. But it probably won't happen. So Kana goes to her room and gets really sad. Toru tells her that she was never close to her parents. Hell, she even played pranks to even get their attention, to which she got exiled to this place. And then Kobayashi gets this weird guilt that she hasn't felt since episode 1, that she might regret not going there. So Kobayashi works overtime for 2 work days, and then she ends up going to the festival. So a lot of things happen in that episode. They pledge, they play games, look how I was there. And then they all play games at the end. All the Dragon crew play games at the end. And then an Elma gag happens at the end, in which it actually happened 3 times. 1 for her food, 2 for more food, and at the end she's debating on what toothpaste to use. That's Elma. So episode 10, Troop Dragon, or is it Trope? I don't know. Trope Dragon on stage. They had a troop name, huh? It's Christmas. Toru doesn't like celebrating the birth of the son of the guy who did something. That'll be later in the series. Well, the old man at the meat store broke his leg. Toru asked the dude if she could fill in for him, do their own stuff, to help the dude. So she brings in a meeting with all the characters, except Kobayashi. She's at work typing. Bad ideas come in. Then Saikawa, yes, the worst character, brings up that they should do a play. They should do The Little Match Girl, which is a fairy tale by the Danish poet and author Hans Christian Andersen. In Danish, it's Den I Pygmes Svalskane, which is the story of a little girl who is selling matches that no one buys. So where she stays, she has no shelter, so she lights the matches to stay warm. And the more she lights, her grandma appears, so she keeps lighting and lighting and lighting and lighting. And the grandma comes over, hugs her, and she ascends to heaven, aka she died. So the director is Fafnir, and then Lukoa, and then Kana becomes a lead because they think she's the cutest and helps. So side B, B-side, happens, and Kana's looking for a chimney for Santa Claus, in which she creates a fireplace and a chimney for Santa. Alright, back to A-side. They changed the script slightly, so, an old man sells hats because of his dying wife, magical girls, because why not, Busty Fairy, and then this 47 Ronin. Huh? But at the end, the old geezers like it. They all have a party after. Kobayashi rides on Toru's back, and they both give each other Christmas gifts. One being more interesting than the other. At the end of the episode, Kobayashi has to play Metal Gear Solid to give Kana her present so she doesn't think that Santa isn't real because Kana has the brain of a 10-year-old. Alright, so now episode 11, Year End, New Year. No Kamaket bit this time. It's the end of Christmas. Toru does this little spinny thing that looks like that could be in a, bingo. She wins tissues twice and a kotatsu blanket, which is like a heating blanket, I think. They enjoy it a lot, to where all of them are lazy. Everyone gets ready for the New Year's. Toru gets stuff from her neighbors. Chicken. And then the story about the Chinese zodiac animals happened, where God was like, hey you, all 13 of you, how about you guys do this race to see who is going to be the first Chinese zodiac animal? It was the rat that won, and then it keeps going down the line of who won, and Toru gets kind of pissed that the dragon didn't get a high place. So they buy kimonos for a shrine visit. Elma eats food, of course. Kana and Saikawa get friendship bracelets, in which we almost get bad gag. Lukoa harasses Shota. She's not really helping her case here. Toru gets a good fortune. A really good fortune. So at the end, they invite everybody over. Fafnir grinds Dark Souls again. And then everybody wakes up. They all get lazy days for a couple of days until work for Miss Kobayashi. And then it ends with Uji Lukoa, Hawk Lukoa, and Eggplant Lukoa. Alright, episode 12. Toru and Kobayashi's impactful meeting. We're raising the bar on ourselves. So this is the backstory episode of Toru and Kobayashi, but first, Toru makes omurice. And then Lukoa comes in and, well, the tone down the explosion scene happens. No, it was not the patriarchy, you dumb fuckers. Well, Toru gets ingredients from the other world to make her more omurice, and, doesn't really do all that well. And then the past of Toru and Kobayashi happens. That was when Kobayashi falls asleep. Due to all the immense pressure at work and all the shit that's going on in her life, there's a lot of drinking to the point where she's like, hey, that's my stuff, and she gets lost in the forest in some random farm place. And then she actually meets Toru in her dragon form. She's like, human, go the fuck away. And Toru's like, no, cool dragon though. And then she pulls out the sword that God struck her with. Toru says that the sword will scramble your mind, in which Kobayashi's like, fuck that, I'm taking it out either way. Then a really good part happens. They start drinking, and then Kobayashi starts raving about how unfair the world is, and how the crunching, and how bad her work is. Toru's talking about dragon stereotypes and how they're talking about being those damn lolicons getting the virgin daughters. But at the end, they get a little calm, talk about how they share the loneliness. And it's a good part, in which Kobayashi invites her to be her maid. And Toru gets really excited. But that's enough backstory. Toru talks about the human she connected with back when she was in the dragon world. It was a little bandit. She was full of personality, man. She says she wants to be a maid and fall in love with her master. And then she says that that's what she wants to do. She's doing it because she chooses to. And then Toru debates her own freedom. And then we do get the flash somewhere that the bandit is a maid. So she's having a good time. And then a portal opens at the end of the episode. Episode 13, Emperor of Demise arrives. It was the final episode before we knew it. Yeah, this is a 13 episode season. The next season's only 12. Toru makes breakfast and goes out for more ingredients for stuff, and then she sees on the TV people talking about the lifespan of rats. Huh. And then Dragonher, which is like her doubt, and she's like, hey, I should probably be back home. I don't want to stay here. She thinks I belong back at the other world. And that if she ever fights and goes all out, she may end up killing Kobayashi. And then her father comes over and tells her, yo, you know why I'm here, right? You shouldn't be here with humans. You shouldn't be here messing with this world. You're coming back with me. And what she does. And kind of sees that. So she goes home to Kobayashi and tells her that she left. She's gone. We may never see her again. In which Kobayashi's taken aback to it. To where she has no idea what to say. She's surprised. What are we gonna do? But she'll have to live with that. That Toru may never come back. So the next day, things are different. Toru's not cleaning. She's not woken. She doesn't wake up the others. Kobayashi have to make her own stuff. Kana has to do her own things. Kobayashi has a hard time with it. Kana has to stay over with Saikawa for the night, and she seems to be hit the hardest with this, to where she just snuggles up with Saikawa. When I say everything's different, Lukoa gets worried, and Fafnir gets offline League of Legends early. That's how bad times are being. But Toru does come back, and her father is pissed. They go back and forth with each other, while mostly her father talks. And Kobayashi tries to say one thing. She got an out, and her father just no-scopes her and shoots her glasses off. And he threatens to eliminate her. Not even kill her, eliminate her. Frickin' atomizer. And then Kobayashi gets up and stands up for Toru. That he's like, yo, this is what she wants to do. Why can't you accept that? And her father, which his name is Damocles, he says that it will be okay now with a couple dragons coming here and there, but others will plan an invasion, and how the world will probably be burned to asunder, and war will keep going and going to this world if dragons keep coming in. Kind of like a Transformers type thing, some Autobots coming in here and there, but Decepticons come in, more Autobots come in, more Decepticons come in, and they just keep clashing into where the humans are kind of fucked. And then Damocles almost blows Kobayashi away. And then Toru frickin' blocks it, and he's like, alright, fine. If you want to fight, we're fighting. Follow me, we're going over here. So they fight, in which Kana and Kobayashi finds them, in which she kind of breaks up the fight and tells Damocles that they should come up with a compromise, and that finding differences between people is the first thing, and to have faith in your own damn daughter. Damocles leaves, and he says he doesn't approve, he doesn't accept the humans.
わがまま言っちゃってごめん。何をあげたらいいですか？全部あげます。そんなにいらん。
So everything goes back to normal, everything's fine, and then my favorite Elma gag happens.
ありがとう
Now we're on the special. Valentine's Day followed by hot springs. Please don't expect much. This will be a shorter one. They go to a hot spring. Kobayashi almost touches a child. That's Toru's fault. She put a love potion in the chocolate. But in the end, Toru does give a non-love potion dose chocolate. And they do have a good moment. Then they all go home and Elma's still hungry. Alright, now on to Season 2. Episode 1, or Episode 15. New Dragon Ilulu. Please be nice to her again. What does the again mean? I don't know. Toru gets a job at a maid cafe. I'm not gonna be around the bush here. Kobayashi and Kana goes, and Kobayashi nerds out and Kana gets freaking uncomfortable. But Toru's a massive hit there. She uses magic, which actually makes the business boom. But she quits and teaches the people magic. But then she kind of comes back and works there part-time. But news broke out that somebody took a chunk of a mountain. They ask around the other dragons, like, yo, who the fuck did that? They kind of ask Alma, and then Toru punches her. But then we get introduced to Ilulu. She is definitely part of the Chaos faction, and she feeds off destruction. So she fights Toru, who wants to protect the town, and Kobayashi wants Alma, to help so she can go mostly to fully all out, actually beat Ilulu. But she's like, nope. 1, I don't like Toru. 2, I shouldn't do this. So Kobayashi bribes her with food, and then she helps. So Toru beats Ilulu and exiles her to somewhere in the normal human world. And Ilulu is very weak to where putting like a portal and to even go somewhere just is very tiring. But she sees Kobayashi and seduces her with her big boobs. And she thought she was male, and then Kobayashi slaps those motherfuckers and leaves. But Ilulu follows her onto the train. She talks about how she can't accept humans and how the mixing of humans and dragons would just cause destruction. But Kobayashi flips the coin on her end and tells her that people find differences as a good thing, that respect creates bonds and bonds create relationships. She does say that Toru and Kobayashi argues a lot and even hurt each other, but they like each other and will keep this friendship going. And what does Ilulu do? She turns Kobayashi into a fucking man. And then at the end of the episode, Fafnir gets banned. Probably said GG too many times. Episode 2, Hot Guy Kobayashi, in many ways. Kobayashi comes home, she gets a boner for Toru. Near the end of this part of the episode, he's like, hey, let's get drunk while you get drunk and have a good time. But Toru finds out that she has a boner and is a boner. However, Kobayashi gets drunk and her nerd maid part of her beats the male desire. So she talks about how maids are seen in a male's perspective, starting at the beginning. That's a funny part. So, next day, she's a woman again. Yippee. Also, after that, it shows that Ilulu is running from a guy. His name is Clement. Or Clemente. I don't know if he's based off anything, but he is like a guy with horns and teeth. Just to point this out, he is voiced by Tomokazu Sugita. He voices the Lizard Man Priest in Goblin Slayer, which I will get to. Don't worry. Miss Kobayashi later thinks about Ilulu, how she might be able to get along with him, and how everybody before Ilulu coming in got along well, or got along at least decently. But speaking of Ilulu, she finds her, in which Clement comes over and says, yo, forget this happened, and I'll let you live. But Kobayashi pulled out her little portable alarm thing and tosses at the motherfucker, and she takes Ilulu and fucking bolts. She finds a place to hide, and Ilulu claims that humans can't coexist with humans, like she said on the train. However, she kind of talks about her past a little bit, and that she wants to play with humans, that she wants to be a kid and play with the other children. But she needs to act like an adult, because if she doesn't, she'll get killed. But Kobayashi wants to bring her in, and talks about, you can be a kid. You can be a kid here, man. You can be a kid here. But Ilulu's still kind of on the defensive with that. You're trying to trick me, human. You're trying to get me weak and kill me. And Kobayashi points it back at her like, yeah, I'm trying to do that. Come over, be a kid again. So then Ilulu then decides that, and then Clement comes over. He's like, hey, Now I gotta kill you too. So he strikes Kobayashi, and immediately after that, he feels Toru's presence behind him. He gets scared, in which he gets choked, his memory gets wiped, and he gets banished. And then we get this cool little Tim Burton looking thing. It's actually a really cool thing to see. Part of Miss Kobayashi Dragon Maid. The styles of it. The styles of how some things are. Like there's this Tim Burton thing here, and then the series itself, it kind of shows what will move and what doesn't move in like different colors and different styles. Kind of like the old rubber hose animations, which you could clearly see what would move and what wouldn't move, which is really cool. But Kobayashi wakes up and Lulu cries over to her and says she wants to be tricked, she wants to live with Kobayashi. So she does. End of episode 2. Episode 3. Extracurricular activities. Of course they're not normal. Sagawa comes over and plays with Kana. She asks that if Lulu wants to play, but she says, no, I don't want to. So Lukoa comes over and talks to Lulu that you don't deserve to, you say, but I think you should. So they do end up playing. Later, Toru gathers everybody, including Georgie, to come over and do a little doodle of how her outfit, her new maid outfit should look like. And then the kids play Monopoly, in which Elma ends up playing Monopoly with them. And Shota is good. Toru ends up not doing a design and actually wants Kobayashi to wear her outfit, in which Kobayashi does, and everyone says she looks good in it. But the last part of the episode, Toru goes around and asks about hobbies and stuff, in which, at the end, she idolizes Kobayashi more and makes things and sings about her. And Kobayashi, even at work, the Kana and Lulu call Kobayashi at work. They're like, hey, get over here quickly. And that's how the episode ends. Episode 4, we're powering through this. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. Quite hard to put together. Kobayashi sees this code and gets surprised that Elma is actually a pretty good coder. So Kobayashi gives her a lot of her work, in which Elma is already overwhelmed with. In which Takia tells her that she sacrifices a lot for this company, man. So Elma challenges Kobayashi for a duel. No blue-eyes white dragon here, but Takia does take the day off, so he'll probably be playing some Yu-Gi-Oh! So they both stay overtime a little bit, where Kobayashi says, hey, we're going home. It's time to go home, Elma. But Elma takes this sacrificing thing literal to where she gets really worried about it. But Kobayashi does tell her to close her eyes, move closer, and she flicks her. But she does go drinking with them and Takia, in which Takia and Kobayashi start arguing about butlers, I think. And Alma just sits there wanting to go home. Alright, the next part of the episode, Toru joins the neighborhood patrol for a little bit, and she helps Sasakibe, and she gets scared by these 4 delinquent punks that do get dispatched by Toru. Later in the part, Elma replaces Sasakibe because Sasakibe is kind of like burdened right now. So they find a suspicious person. Earlier in the part of this episode, there was like a suspicious man was seen doing weird dances, and it's Fafnir. It's Fafnir. He's doing weird anime dances, and right after, the dudes who Toru beats up come back with a lot more people, where their supposed leader, Dragon, comes over, tries to beat Toru up, immediately gets thrown into the forest, and the rest get dispatched immediately. And then a theme park. They go to a theme park. They all have fun. Bad gag here, bad gag there. Kobayashi and Toru do some stuff together, and then they meet at the Ferris wheel, in which a nice scene happens. And then they go home. Episode 5, Together with You. Well, if we get along. This episode is Elma's and Toru's past, where they met and went out as a duo. Toru sees that humans are stupid and they're fighting once again. Elma actually gets treated as a god because she brings water for food. So it's a trade-off. Elma brings water, she gets food in return. Toru was like, what are you on about? What is this shit? But they do kind of get a little closer and she ends up tagging along on Elma's adventure. But it does come out that they couldn't cooperate and tried to kill each other for an entire year. But now we're at the last part of the episode, thus around last fourth of the episode. Toru wants Alulu to get a job. She's lazing around, fucking lazy bitch. So they go around the mall, they're like, nah, she doesn't want this. And Alulu even says herself, nah, I don't want this. I'll probably just destroy everything. So they find a little candy arcade store, and she does take the job from Mrs. Ida, the grandmother of who we're gonna meet now, Takito. He's supposed to bring in Alulu's uniform, which is what, it was an extra large or an XXL? In which he found out why it's an XXL. But at the end of the episode, Alulu works well with children. Except at this part where she asks the child to hold her breasts after the kid was curious about it. Yeah, dragons aren't very well versed with humanity. But at the end, she plays with Takito and spins the top, or that could be a Beyblade. Episode 6, Uncanny Relationships. One side is a dragon. This is kind of more of a human and dragon relationship episode. It starts off with Shota trying to find Lukoa's weakness. It does not work. He tries giving her clothes, she wears them. He tries bitterness, that was him. He tries scaring her with a dog, it also was him. But at the end of the day, Lukoa tells Shota that he can ask her for a weakness. You know, she hates losing the place she called home. She got thrown out of, like, the gods and goddesses stuff. And she sees that Shota is trying, and she finds that admirable. Which was a good part of the episode. And I don't remember her smothering him with her breasts. Now we're at Takia, getting kind of anxious that his parents are coming over because Fafnir is here for the day, trying to get him out for the day so his parents could come over. So he asks Toru how he's gonna get him out. She said by force, in which easily that would not work, even he says that. So he does ask Shota, in which he gives him an orb, in which Shota would like some manly advice for him. Not really. He even said that he was a failure. He's like, yep, probably not right. Probably shouldn't do that. But he does tell him some advice. The orb, I think, doesn't work. He just gulps it down. So they end up fighting in a video game to see if Fafnir will talk nice to his parents. And here's a genuinely good part of Kana and Saikawa. A good Kana Saikawa. They go out and get photo evidence of something. I didn't write it down. So they go out where the rivers meet and get photo evidence of something. I didn't write it down, so it's probably not important. They have fun, they play like hopscotch and shit. Unfunny gag here. And then they think about playing in the water. Saikawa has one thing on her mind, Kana has another. And then they find Elma as her dragon form. And she's clearly having fun. Kana knows that's Elma, but not Saikawa. And at the end, an old couple helps them get a picture of each other. So that's nice. And then back to school, Kana tells her that it was CGI. And she believed it. Alright, episode 7, Common Sense. Everyone is out of sync. Fafnir is writing a manga, and he getting Lukoa to help. It goes well. Not for Lukoa, though. And then they go to a comics fair. Even Lukoa goes there. Takia sells his crap, Fafnir gets nothing sold, and Lukoa sells cosplay pictures of herself. Insert Instagram woman here, and the only person who gets Fafnir's book is Lukoa. Toru bumps Alma, end scene. And then Toru, when it's nighttime, she asks Kobayashi about sleeping. Why do humans sleep? And Kobayashi tells her that, well, it's an evolution thing, that it's better that we sleep during the night rather than during the day. And then it gets philosophical about conformity, that people sleep here, and people just sleep at the same time. This show gets very philosophical. So, at school, Kana's group research ghosts. So after school, they try to get photo evidence or even video evidence. So after school, they wander and play in the building. They even play soccer with a fucking shoe. Kana's team wins, which the bucket hits one of the, like an older group of kids, in which they chase them and they hide in a classroom. They're having a lot of fun, and then they hear noises in the art room. So they investigate, and only Kana finds out the source. It was a fairy. She brings him back to her house. His ass got lost, and now he's getting sent back. Good for him. Now episode 8, the world's only, insert phrase you like here. Sounds like something out of the meme I just posted in Discord. So Shota makes something for Father's Day. He has a feeling, a lot. Lukoa is with him every step of the way. And if I mean every step of the way and with him, I mean she's rooting for the guy. And he kind of gives up. But Takia gives him advice from like the perspective of using video games as an analogy and game developers, in which that does help him a lot to where he ends up being successful, which was good. And then Lukoa congratulates him with boobs in his face. After this, Kana gives Kobayashi a massage coupon for Father's Day because she thinks she's her father rather than her mother, which was a funny gag. But Kobayashi does get a cold, she falls on her face, and Toru actually worries for her health. There's no, I'm gonna help you, Miss Kobayashi. She's genuinely worried for the woman, to where she actually goes to her other world and gets stuff. She comes back battered, beaten, and while Miss Kobayashi was like, woohoo, all that I needed was a nap. But she takes the things, like the balls, and she drinks them, like, they work. And even Toru's all excited, she gets all happy, and Miss Kobayashi just couldn't say no to that face. So the next day she wakes up and she finds out she's half cat. Alright, moving on, Lulu finds out that somebody left a doll, and she wants to find the owner, and, well, Takito tags along. So most of the episode, Lulu thinks about the doll she left. She thinks about the regret when she left it. The amount of guilt and resentment and regret she got from it. So she is hellbent of finding this. So she uses her sense of smell, or well, sense of smell with magic. And Takito was like very close to leaving, to where at the point he actually did leave, but when it started raining, he pulled out a umbrella and helped her, in which it's a good moment. It's a really good moment. Kobayashi finds the owner and they bring it back to said owner, and the owner has a good cry how she misses the doll and she clearly regrets leaving it, and it's another good moment in this series. Now we're on to episode 9. Yeah, we're going quick. On the recording, I'm about 36 minutes in. There are various reasons behind it. It's full of Elma. This here is my second favorite episode, and we'll talk about my favorite episode soon. As I said, it's an Elma episode. Elma wants to better the workplace, to stop all the exploitation, all the crunching, and all the crap that was happening. So she writes, and I quote, "Working Environment Improvement Plan." She does 3 versions of this. One being a little small, gets rejected, a little bigger, gets rejected, and really big, very specific, and I forget if it gets rejected or not. Either way, she does it for food. Also, Toru helps, so that's nice. The next part, she was trusted to watch the kids camping, which was like a temporary camping. Not, out there sleeping for the night. It's a temporary thing. So they go fishing, and Elma's very good at fishing because she thinks about if she was the fish. Not if she was a good fisherman, if she was the fish, because she was actually fished out one time. She eats food and gets really excited about it. She really loves the food made by our boy Shota. And the kids are, they're playing around. She dips her feet in the toes. She gets very childish with it. It's a very cute moment. And the kids, are like, hey, let's go here. Decide to go exploring for stuff Shota needs, but they didn't tell Elma, so she loses her shit when she finds them gone. She almost kills a bear and a snail, but she finds them. It's all good. Now the last part, which might actually be my favorite or my second favorite. The training with Toru. This starts from her thinking she's getting weak, but it becomes a real fight because she's not weak. That bitch. And Elma is back at her introduction episode, to where she accuses Toru of tricking human, but in reality, Elma wants Toru to be nice to her again. In which she does. She becomes nice to her again, which is nice. And now they start fighting for fun, they make up, episode ends greatly. Now episode 10, Kana's Summer Vacation. Bilingual broadcasting? This first part, this episode is about Kana leaving because she had an argument with Miss Kobayashi. This is like a runaway episode, but on a huge form because Kana's a dragon, so she leaves Japan because of said argument. She lands in New York, and this took me by surprise. There was actual English being spoken. It wasn't Japanese being spoken. Hell, it wasn't even English that was spoken. It was full-blown English, and I think English voice actors were even there voicing the characters. And I thought that was, holy shit, I didn't know that.
Hi there. What do you want? Oh, Japanese money. Sorry, you can't use it here. No Japanese yen.
言葉違う
You alone here? Where's your
Why
mom?
are you always acting
Go
like
and get
that?
some US dollars from your mom.
But Kana does change using magic to make her understand English into Japanese, and their understanding of her Japanese into English. So everybody understands it. She meets Chloe, a kidnapped girl who's currently running from her kidnappers. But Kana does save Chloe, and they have fun together. And Kana starts to think that she should go home to Kobayashi. She needs to go back. So she has a good farewell to Chloe. Then she gets kidnapped again. And then Kana saves her again, but in dragon form. In which Kana brings Chloe back to Minnesota. And actually she ran away. That's actually 12,500 miles away from New York. Yeah, she ran fucking far. But she brings her back, and then she comes back to Miss Kobayashi. Toru asked her where she was, and she hugged Miss Kobayashi. And then we do find out that Toru was there the entire time. She was watching, making sure she didn't get into too much trouble. You could actually look back earlier in the episode, and Toru's actually there. It's not that they added her when she brought it up. She was actually there, so that's a very good attention to detail. Later in the episode, Kana and Kobayashi kind of have a lazy day. You know, they eat watermelon, she does homework, which she does mess up. So they decide to go out and explore their part of Japan. They mostly wandered. They went out and ate water ice. They looked at manholes, and there was a character on the manhole. She draws a character on there. I think his name's Mr. Quiet. And they do other things, and it's just them connecting, which is great. This here is my favorite episode of the entire series. The switch of Kana being very separate from Miss Kobayashi to the later half being her very close to Kobayashi is very well done. Very, very well done. So season 2, episode 10, you get my badass seal of approval. Now episode 11, premium seat, no extra charge. This is a semi-serious episode. Let's start with Kobayashi's back problems. Her back problems are finally catching up to her, so she buys a lot of shit she probably won't use. So she comes back and Alulu and Kana kinda give her little back pats or hits or whatever the hell that actually do feel good. Get somebody to do it, it feels good. So Toru wants to truly understand Kobayashi. So she gets the losers, Elma and Takia, how dare she. So she gets the idea of getting something from her world and helping Kobayashi. But Takia quickly turns that down, saying, "This could fuck up Kobayashi." So Toru comes in, tells Kobayashi to sit down on her tail. And she gets a little vibration on the tail, and it feels good on Kobayashi. So Kobayashi returns the favor, and, you know, she helps her with a little massage on her shoulders. Insert line for boobs here from Kobayashi here. Alright, so the second part of the episode. Kobayashi gets called in by her CEO, which is the father of Shota. They're all mages. She gets called in, and Damocles is there. He tells her story about the world of dragons, and how they're in a never-ending war with each other and God. They hated how they were governed by something. They wanted to be truly free, so they tried to fight over it. However, they found traitors in there, which became the Order and the Observer factions. And actually, the Chaos faction name was forced on them by the other factions and other dragons. So Toru was born, and he didn't really care about humans that much. He didn't really care that much that they were worshipping God. It was kind of like something to look over. But he sees that other dragons are helping them, so he tells Toru that humans are evil. But he has a little change of heart. He tells Toru to act freely, do her own adventures, have her form her own opinion of humanity and everything else. He even said that he thought she might doubt the Chaos faction views of humanity. However, she went to fight God and lost. So, at the end of the story, he tells her that Toru herself is the one that wants the fighting end the most. So Kobayashi kinda roams around and tries to process everything that was said. So she comes home and asks Toru to tell a story, in which she does. And she starts at her changing into the human form. And she thought that humans were stupid, that they're fighting here, fighting there, all this crap. And during this, she met many of the dragons. She met Kana through her little human transformation thing, talking about the pranks and stuff. She asked the Quetzalcoatl about fighting, and she even met Fafnir from his cave. And he even tells her that to truly be a dragon, you have to fight for what you live. And if you don't, you're a sad excuse for a dragon. And of course, she met Elma, and in this flashback telling her story, this is when they were going their separate ways. And they didn't really end on a terrible note. So she thought that she was never truly free, that she never wanted to fight, that she was better with having friends to quarrel with, to fuck around with. So what did she do? She decided to go up and fight God her way. She lost, and that's how she met Kobayashi, and that she chooses to be a maid for Miss Kobayashi, which was a great end of the episode. We're just sitting, just a good episode. Episode 12, Life is Constant Change. But it's okay to stop and appreciate it. I wish everybody could learn from that. So the Grand Festival is coming up, and she catches Toru working on it while she was walking home. They walk home, and Kobayashi starts to think about if she's truly worthy of Toru's love. But let's forget that. They gotta go yukata shopping. And they do. Also, catch a dragon by its toe. So they go to the Grand Festival. Elma gets all flustered and excited for the food. Toru is working at the Maid Cafe stand. Said she'll save some for Elma, a rice omelet. So they meet up with Saikawa and Shota and Lukoa. And Alulu meets up with Takedo somewhere else. Saikawa and Kana have their moments. Take and Alulu have a good moment. Taketo saying that she can be a child for tonight and stuff. And then another pervert joke.
You set me up, bitch.
So Toru gets off work and Kobayashi walks with her just then. So she tells Toru about her doubt and her worth of being loved by Toru, in which Toru says to Kobayashi that she makes her happy. She's glad she became a maid for Kobayashi. Yeah, she's better than her in many ways, but that's not only because she's a dragon, but she's also a very sociable person. But she says that she always loved Miss Kobayashi.
これからもずっと
Next, everybody, except Saikawa, goes to a little cherry blossom tree field, which Lukoa claims that it's one of her friends who turned her flesh into petals, which is interesting. Everybody has fun, Kobayashi drinks, the boys play video games. Elma puts a little face on her belly, does a quote-unquote belly dance. Shota finds it funny, he's not really flustered, he finds it funny. Toru finds it funny too, but in a different way. Then arm wrestling happens, Takia gets his arm broken, Toru wins. That part was Shota's fault. He was bribed. Then everybody eats, everybody drinks, Kobayashi offers a drink for Toru, good moment. And then the main event, the marriage of Kobayashi and Toru. Kobayashi is very nervous that this was forced upon her, in which she didn't know this was going to happen. So Toru wants Kobayashi to say, I love you. And then everybody does a little ending run, except Fafnir. He's probably too busy grinding on Fallout 4 or Hogwarts Legacy. And that's the end of Season 2. But we have Special 2, which is the final episode of Dragon Maid as of now. Episode 27. Japanese hospitality. The attendant is a dragon. So Chloe comes, alone, which is weird. Not even security there. But they go to Akiba, they play VR space games, in which they were all into it, including Fafnir. So then they meet up with Elma, which, of course, she helps with the food, and they go to a candy store. That's wicked. Then they go home, in which Saikawa comes over, and she finds Chloe, and Saikawa is jealous of Chloe, but they end up being friends. It's all good. They all swim, they get candy, they get Russian roulette candy and exploding candy. That's cool. Later at the thing, they all get fireworks, Chloe puts on a kimono. It's all cool, and they all go to bed. So Chloe leaves on a plane, like Polnareff. Kana gives Chloe a bunny that's for her backpack. The same thing that was on her backpack from episode 4. And then at the end, they do a little Zoom, Skype, Discord thing. Probably Skype, because Discord, I don't know, doesn't exist or something. And that's the plot. That is all there is for the plot of Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. Alright? Now on to the characters. Alright, now on to the characters. After we get the plot done, we got the characters now. First we got Miss Kobayashi. She's voiced by Mutsume Tamura. She's the voice of the young version of Kakashi Hatake from Naruto, and actually Vegapunk York from One Piece. No, she doesn't voice Vegapunk York. I don't know how the hell I found that. She does voice Hatake, young Hatake, and which I don't know how I didn't find this. She voices all versions that I could find of Hermes Costello. And here's a couple others I could find that, yeah, I dropped the ball on that one. If you hear this quality of voice, that means I fucked up and I have to correct myself. Again, I'm sorry. I hope this doesn't happen any more than this. Fuck. Which, I'm actually really glad that she's getting new work, because I actually do like how she did Miss Kobayashi. Speaking of that, Miss Kobayashi, she works at the Jigo Komagiri System Engineering Incorporated, which there's a lot of coding. She has back pains and bad posture, relatable. Works next to Makoto Takiya. She took in Toru, Kana, and Alulu, which actually they changed her and actually made her happier since maybe episode 2. She's a heavy drinker. She drinks with Takiya a lot of times actually. She has debates with him about maids, butlers, Lolitas, goth Lolitas. Yeah, she has outbursts about maids a lot. She actually ripped off Toru's outfit a lot of times actually. I think I count 3 to 4 times. She's a huge maid nerd. She has posters on her wall, or I think they're posters. They may be drawings of them. They're just on the wall. And she even wanted to be a maid, but I don't want to say ridiculed, but said that she looked bad in a maid outfit, and she just kind of wore neutral clothing, not even like girls or even boys clothing, just neutral. She lives with most of the dragons, and she even grew to like living with them. Started with Toru, then Kana, then Alulu. She's a mother figure, or in one episode, father, to Kana and Alulu. And she also has measurements. B7, 70, W60, and 870. Next we have Toru. Next we have Toru herself. She is the Dragon Maid. Actually, I think the only Dragon Maid. According to her father, she was named after a writer from the modern world. And actually in another episode, either Kobayashi herself either asked Toru about being named after Thor, or she confused the name with the Norse god Thor, which she was voiced by Yuki Kuwahara, in which she voices Naho Takada from Demon Slayer, which is a show I adore. She's a raging lesbian for Miss Kobayashi, to where in one of the episodes she made figurines, she sang, and she did a bunch of shit about Miss Kobayashi, to which Kana and Alulu fucking called her to come home to stop this shit. And she's also jealous about anyone who gets close to her. She was very jealous about Takiya. She's a little jealous about Alulu now. At first, she was jealous of Kana, or she didn't know that was Kana. Out of every dragon, or every character even, we've seen in this series, she wants the people in her world to stop fighting the most, according to her father. She's a good maid. She became a really good maid, actually. She's a good cook, unless it's her tail. She knew all the dragons that came over, or at least knew of, because I don't think she knew Alulu. Kana, the Quetzalcoatl, and even Fafnir a little bit, she kind of asked around, and she was close with Elma, and I guess with Fafnir, she kind of fought and then kind of grew close to him, and then she grew close to everyone else, to where they were friends. She got to know a lot of people in her community, to where she even helped around and like do a play. She fought God and lost, and then which she went to the modern world to hide and probably die. And then she was saved by drunk Kobayashi. And of course, she's the daughter of the Emperor of Demise, Damocles, which I will get to. Her measurements are B95, W70, and H75. And this is where we get to the really interesting ones, because they're actually based off things. There's Kana Kamui, which she's voiced by Maria Naganawa, which she voices Kameko from Konosuba.
Fucking deity. Give me the deity. God damn it.
She's based off the Kana Kamui, the Ainu deity, which is a god of thunder, lightning, and just storms in general, in which the female version of Kana accompanies the Hoshian children in her human form, and the male version of Kana accompanies the Nohrian children in his dragon form. And then possibly based off Kamui Fuchi, in which this, I think, deity was actually accompanied by the Kana Kamui. She's the second dragon to come over. She's about yay high and about 9 years old. She's in the 3rd grade. She is the friend of Riko Saikawa, which I will get to. She didn't like Kobayashi at first because she didn't trust humans and thought she seduced Toru with her body. She charges up to get her energy, which her source comes from electricity. She's very childlike. She's very curious in both the other world and modern world. She plays pranks, and she depends on Kobayashi a lot, in which she was never close to her parents, and because they were always planning for war for hundreds upon hundreds of years, and to where she even played pranks to get their attention, to where she was just exiled into the modern world, in which she is really close to Miss Kobayashi, a big far cry from her dragon parents, and a daughter-mother relationship with her, in which I love to pieces. It's a really great relationship. She's a great character. Oh yeah, Kana has measurements, but I'm not touching that. Next is the Quetzalcoatl, or in which she lets everybody call her Lukoa. She's voiced by Minami Takahashi, in which she is voiced Gray from Black Clover, which I don't know how important that character is. She's based off the Quetzalcoatl from Aztec mythology, which I kind of researched a tiny bit, which is a creation god. You know how there's Allah for the Muslims, Yahweh for the Christians. I don't remember the one for the Jewish. She was either the 3rd or the 4th dragon. I think she was the 4th dragon to come in after Fafnir. So Lukoa likes to keep her eyes closed, or at least squinted. In the show, it looks like her eyes are closed. Could be squinted for all I know. I don't know. When she does open her eyes, it shows she has a bluish-greenish eye on her right, and on her left is a purplish eye with a yellow iris on it. So that's kind of cool. I'm gonna say she's very unaware of her sexuality. She sleeps next to and even bathes sometimes with Shota. She got kicked out of places for revealing too much, which makes sense because she is the god of Aztecs, in which a lot of Aztecs had a lot of revealing clothing. She's very dirty to Shota. She presses her chest on him, she hugs him, in which her chest kind of smothers him. She gets naked sometimes, in which the motherfucker sees it.
You wanna explain yourself?
And one time she put him under her shirt. but she does care about him. She doesn't like wearing clothes. She was even naked on the couch one time. But when Shota was like, hey, I got you a shirt. And she's like, I'll wear it. And then she wore it with pride. And a bit of her pride was even shown. She even told Shota that he can ask her weakness. And she was able to stay with Shota, so she got excited and actually stayed there. And which actually goes within her backstory, in which she's actually afraid of being in one place. Because when she can't drink. She drank a cursed liquor in which her and her sister did something in which she got exiled or just kicked out, just never coming back to the place where the creation gods are, in which she kind of came into the observing faction, which she doesn't really care about fighting at all. She thinks it's pointless and stupid. Her measurements are B120, W70, and H85. That means she's hot. Next up, we have Fafnir, in which he is voiced by Daisuke Ono, in which he is a couple characters, but a big one he is Jotaro Kujo from JoJo. And Star Platinum, if you count that. He's based off the Fafnir from Norse mythology, which is a dragon. He is the third dragon that comes in before Lukoa, which he came in as like this orc creature, maybe not orc, but this fucking horned creature that looks like it belongs on the box art of the first Doom game. He's a big weeb. He plays Dark Souls. He plays League of Legends-like games. Maybe a little bit of RuneScape. Later on, maybe around episode 4, maybe 5, he let Takia call him Faf or Fafkun. Before he came to this world, he spent 10,000 years guarding his treasure, in which he has the belief of if you're not fighting for what you believe in or what you want to do, it's pointless. So he's factionless, actually. He doesn't give a shit about what's happening. So next up we have Elma, which she's voiced by Yuki Tadaka, in which she is Tingyun from the Honkai Star games, KMS Z18, and HMS Icarus from the Azure Lake games. That I could find, she's not really based off anything. From what it seems, it looks like she has a horn and a very long serpent, so she could be a random-ass sea monster, or she could be based off the Loch Ness Monster from Scottish mythos.
This guy's a retard.
It's folklore. There's a difference. God damn it.
Retard alert.
She's a good coder, actually. She's a good coder. She likes to eat. For one episode, she even went beyond to even get food early. So, yeah, she gets very flustered when it comes to food. Her mouth waters a lot. She does get flustered a lot when her stomach growls. She's cute. Alright, she's cute. She's impulsive sometimes, like when she went up to those kids who were just playing around on the road, where like there weren't even any cars. She wants justice for everyone. She wants justice for a lot of people, where she created this fucking document, like this fucking like thick-ass document about it. She was very close with Toru a lot, before any of them came to this world, and she says even to Toru that the food's not good without you, so be nice to me. And her measurements are B90, W78, and H84. Alright, next up we have Olulu, in which she is voiced by Tomomi Mineuchi, in which she is the UMP45 from Girls Frontline, which I don't know these characters. She is supposedly the last dragon that we find as of season 2, and even like up to the second special. She was very lazy until she got a job. Her big hunkers are flame bags. She either is or is not aware of her sexual looks. She calls Taketo a pervert, and she even teases him sometimes. But there is a time where she asks the child to hold her boobs. When the child asks about her boobs and how big they are and why they're so big, and if they get heavy in her shoulders. And also she almost undresses in front of Taketo like, what, 2 or 3 times? I don't know. And she also seems to like the dude, whether romantically or just as a friend. Oh yeah, she's also really, really powerful, where she could go on par with Toru when she's not, going full power. And she could even hold with it where she wasn't going fully out. Alright, now the the semi-minor, semi-main. Makoto Takia, he's voiced by Yuichi Nakamura, in which he is Muramasa from Bleach and Greed from Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, which I don't know how important those characters are, but he's also Bruno Bucciarati from JoJo, so yeah, it's cool. He's a massive weeb. He works with Kobayashi, in which he kind of helps a little bit. He likes anime, so he has posters everywhere. All the weird stuff he has there, merchandise, fucking, I don't know, probably hentai comics or something. He also has a good head on his shoulders. Other than being, in a decently paying job that kind of exploit people, but he gives good advice to Shota, a lot of good advice to Shota actually. He even gives like decent advice or pretty good advice to Toru when she was asking about, what does Kobayashi really want? How do I really help Kobayashi? So that's Takia. So next we have Saikawa. I'm gonna tell you this, she is the worst character in this goddamn show. I do not like Saikawa at all. However, I do not have anything against Amiri Kato. I think she does a pretty good job as this shitty character. She voices Blair from Soul Eater, which I recognize but never seen. She's the friend of Kana, in which she actually thinks she's cute. She has a massive ego, also a massive shiny forehead, in which that's actually one of her funnier gags. She has an annoying gag in which she does almost anything with Kana. Touch her, hear something from her, she goes... But I think she is also an important character. Yeah, she is Kana's first friend, like one of the first people she ever got close to. So she's a bad character, but also kind of important. So, alright. And then we have Georgie Saikawa, who's voiced by Yuko Goto, which is Mina from Black Clover, and she's also a lot of no-names in the show, in which she actually voices the Kana and Riko Saikawa's teacher in, when she goes to school. So she is Riko's sister, she is a huge Maid nerd like Kobayashi, and she's actually helped Parkland a lot, which she was like one of the people that scare them, she was a couple mascots, she was big help in Parkland. Next we have Shota Magasuchi. He is voiced by Kaori Ishihara, in which she voices Maruyama from High School DxD. That's kind of ironic. He is a mage from the other world. He is very nervous around girls, especially Lukoa. He thinks Lukoa is a demon, which I don't know if it becomes like an inside joke between the two of them, or he still genuinely thinks she is a demon, specifically a succubus. But he does care for her. He went to look for her when she left the house one time, because he was like, demon be gone, demon be gone. She hasn't come back. He was like, she must be here. And then he's like, where'd you go? And then she's right there. But he also puts up with her and even asked her to stay. He let her stay with him. And of course, he wants to be a better mage, in which he actually tried to one time and actually did good. And next we have the Emperor of Demise himself, Damocles, in which he's voiced by Takayuki Sugo, which he voices Hashirama Senju from Naruto. He is based off the character Damocles from the Greek myth Sword of Damocles, in which he was kind of a substitute king, because the king himself was scared that he would be assassinated, killed, because of how high he is as a king. So Damocles, the guy, he was kind of like a suck-up, he was kind of a kiss-ass, in which the king was like, hey, you want to take my job for like a couple of days? And then Damocles was like, all right. So a couple of days, he was like, that's good. So he sees a sword, but he gets really, really nervous around it. Yeah, it's a story about looming dangers, a lot of threats, and the fear of things. It does fit with the character himself, because he fears Toru wouldn't be free. And since he's high up as a dragon, he doesn't want her to be a burden. He doesn't want her to be a burden on herself and on him, because how high up he is, he doesn't want to force something down her throat. So he tells her, act freely, think for yourself, go out into the world, and be your own dragon. Of course, I just said he is the Emperor of Demise, which I don't know if that was pushed on him, because the Chaos Faction itself, the name the Chaos Faction, was pushed on the faction itself. So maybe the title could have been pushed on him? I don't know. He doesn't like humans. He doesn't really accept Kobayashi. And he wants dragons to be truly free. aka not following someone or a deity. So next we have Taketo Aida. He exists. He helps Alulu a little bit. A lot, maybe. He's kind of like supervisor at the candy store, making sure she doesn't fuck something up. And he helped her look for the doll, actually. He went around with her, in which he was like, I'm gonna head home. In which she found out, it was like, oh shit, it's raining. So, all the way to the end, he helped her. He's a good guy to her. So, that's Taketo. And now, the very, very, very beat around the bush characters.
So it turns out I didn't do a thing for Taketo. So Taketo is voiced by Hiro Shimano, in which he voices Zenitsu Agatsuma from Demon Slayer, the series, and you'll never guess this, Kuchio from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Stone Ocean.
I'm gonna show three of them. They're neighbors. Mr. Stone, in which he is voiced by Shinya Takahashi. He voices Mario Zucchero in Part 5 JoJo, and even voices some guys in Goblin Slayer, so that's cool. Then he's the wood guy, Sasakibe, who's voiced by Kaori Ishihara, so she comes back from Shoda. She's the food lady. And then there's Yana, who's voiced by Shinya Takahashi as well. He's the music guy. So yeah, that's the characters. The ones I wanted to talk about, at least. I love all these characters. Except you. Go fuck yourself. Alright, this is going to be a combined of music and comedy since they're both pretty short. So, start with the music. I think the music's pretty good. All the stuff I've heard in the anime and some of the stuff I've seen and looked up, it's good. So, starting with the OPs, there's Blue Sky Rhapsody, made by the Japanese pop group Sana. I think that's how you pronounce it. They started 2012, or been releasing stuff since 2012, and they're actually still releasing stuff to this very day. Like, their most recent thing was made last year, or released last year. It started off annoying, but I kind of grew to like it, especially towards like the middle and the end. It's good. Then there's I Know Supreme, which is also made by the same group. Good chorus, it has a good start. The instrumentals are amazing in all of these, actually. The EDs, Ishukan Communication, which means interspecies communication, so that's cool. This is performed by the voice actors of the main Dragon Girls of the first season. So Toru Kana, Elma, and
And a child.
I'm not really feeling it. Very Mario-sounding instrumentals, which are good instrumentals. I'm just not a fan of the rhythm of the lyrics. Alright, and now there's Maid with Dragons, which was performed by the voice actors again, plus the one of Lulu. I think this is the best one out of all the OPs, all the EDs. It's a fun one to listen to. All the characters going back and forth, the lyrics, it's good. The chorus is good. It's just blast to listen to. All of them have really good visuals. There's 2D spinning and Made with Dragons, so I bet that was a bitch to make with the characters. And then became 3D spinning with the place. Toru had the city, Elma has like a gingerbread house, Aztec architecture for Lukoa, city again, but kind of smaller for Kana, and then some doomed snap map for Ululu. The main OST itself was composed by Masume Ito, in which she's been composing and doing music since 1997 and been doing anime since 1999. I'm not really familiar with all her stuff, but she was in a band with Yoko Euno, called Oranges and Lemons, which I'm not familiar with either of this band, nor the next band, Heart of Air. There's some really good, cheerful, good ones. There's some that actually sound like they belong in Mario games. There's this one that sounds like you would hear in like one of the Mario parties when you're waiting for the instructions for the mini games. A lot of these are pretty good to listen to. There's some good somber and sad ones. Some good themes for menacing parts, like where Damocles was coming in, and just stuff in general. Most to all of them actually fit in this slice of life story, kind of simple, but yet it's very complex characters, all the trauma of their past, but also the comedy of now. Speaking of that, the comedy. The comedy itself is good, generally. It's good. Going down the list, Elma has some good gags with her food, which actually doesn't get old, so that's nice. There's decent to good ones with Toru. Fafnir and Takia has some good stuff. Miss Kobayashi has her own with many of the characters, especially when she's really drunk. Saikawa has terrible ones. The only good one is the flashing and the reflection of her shiny ass forehead. That's funny. And there was a decent Alulu ones. I think the one I liked the most when her and Takata were looking for the doll. She was asking around, and there was a vendor, this random guy, and then these two kids. She's asking about the doll, and clearly they were not looking at the doll. It's kind of like a blink and you'll miss it type thing. Like if you're not looking at the kids, you wouldn't notice it. So I burst out laughing with that. So all in all, music, comedy, that stuff is good. Moving. Alright, so now the world building. The world building itself, it's pretty simple if you don't go very deep into it. Like there's some things. Alright, let's start with our world. With the modern world is Kobayashi and Takia and almost every human resides in. It's our human world.
Well, duh.
And there's a possible god that's kind of up for debate because the CEO of Kobayashi's work, he tells her that Damocles talks to the god of this world, of the human world, and we do not know what the god looks like, or what the god will look like. At least in the anime, I don't know about the manga. And it's just, as normal people, it's a normal world, it's just our world. Our once proud race. Then there's the medieval world with all the random shit in there. First off, it has a massive god. He's huge. Like, he towers over every dragon that's next to him. He kinda has like a Zeus look, or maybe even Poseidon. He also has a trident, or just a weapon like Poseidon's trident, so this could very well be Poseidon. It has a ton of species of a lot of things. Just to name a few, there's dragons, there's mages, there's humans, there's monsters, there's witches, there's fairies, there's sea dragons, there's a lot of things. And it has a lot of deities and creatures of many Asian and European mythologies. Like Shiva from Hindu mythology was mentioned, Hades was mentioned, so maybe he could be the death of this world, or like the god of death in this medieval world. There's the Quetzalcoatl from Aztec mythology, there's the Fafnir dragon from Norse, Damocles from Greek, the Leviathan from Christian/biblical times. It has a lot. People can come to and from this world with magic, which specific people have, like Toru does, I think Alulu does, Elma does not, maybe Fafnir does, because I don't remember them coming through Toru's portal. So almost all of our friends, except Kana most definitely, because she was exiled here. And hell, just people can just get lost and end up here, like that the one buff fairy from the episode where they're researching about ghosts. There are around 3 factions of dragons. 4th, maybe, there's the Chaos faction, which is of dragons that cause destruction, or what it originally was, dragons that just want to be truly free in this world, that don't want to be overlooked or commanded by God, and the name was also forced on them. Examples are these as Toru, Damocles, and Alulu. There's the Order faction, in which they want peace and order according to God, and they help God, they usually help a lot of people. They're kind of like what people think of deities back way far in mythology. So an example is definitely Elma. And then there's the Observer faction, which are neutral, kind of lookovers, no fighting. I don't know if they help God in any way possible. They're kind of a neutral party. If Chaos was Republican and Order is Democrats, Observer would be the Green Party. Of course, we can flip the two around. No fighting in the comments. And then there's Factionless, which is, well, self-explanatory. So Fafnir is one of, if not the example. And it seems to be just a dangerous place to be in. Maybe it could be safe. I don't know. As long as there's no horses. So yeah, that's the world building. I really do like the world building. It's simple, but when you dig deep into it, it's pretty cool. Especially with all the mythological stuff religious stuff. It's pretty cool. I would be interested in seeing like some Jewish mythology, some more Western mythology, like maybe some Wendigos or fucking African mythologies, like Egyptian mythology, Set, Basset, Thoth, Osiris, all of those. Because I'm a fan of Egyptian mythology. Other than that, it's an amazing world building system. Simple, but deep. Pretty cool. In conclusion, this is a must-watch series for its great characters, except you, a good story, amazing moments, pretty good music, pretty good world building, actually great lessons, amazingly choreographed fights, and probably most importantly, amazing relationships between many of the characters. Whether it's the mother-daughter of Kana and Kobayashi, the Discord friendship relationship between Fafnir and Takia, the semi-love, semi-friendship of Takedo and Lulu, the tough love of Toru and Elma, and the cute little friendship of Saikawa and Kana. But that's all for me today. This video is probably very fucking long. Thank you for watching. I hope you liked it. If you don't, that's fine. Leave a like, leave a dislike. Subscribe.